And you're live.
Welcome everyone. We're beginning 11 days of unity, world unity, and our webinar today, Lisa and I are presenting Awakening Peace in a Challenging World.
So,
So,
a warm welcome also from me. I'm Lisa Berman. I introduce myself briefly. So, I'm a transformational counselor and holistic health coach. I work with people to support them reconnecting with their inner peace. And usually, people come because they have physical symptoms, but it's also related to stress and blocked emotions and trauma and all what we as humans are dealing with on a daily basis. So my background is I'm a German naturopath, and growing up in post-war Germany was really confronting me in early youth with, I would say, a collective traumatized country. As a little kid already, I sensed in a way, all the suffering that was hiding in people's being. And so I became in young age, when I was exploring what I want to be in the world and who am I, there was this really deep desire to help people overcoming, healing wounds, traumas, and helping with physical issues. So, but this, is working 20 years in Berlin as a naturopath. I heard many stories what people still were holding from what happened in World War II. So my interest in working with collective wounds and maybe that I can contribute to some healing led me to become a mediator, and I studied peace sciences. So this led me in a way that I was asked to be part of a Jewish-German reconciliation project. So I had no doubt that I wanted to be part of it as a post-war German-born woman, then as a healer, and also I was in a relationship with a Polish Jewish man who was deeply traumatized through World War II. So this brings me to that I was part in 2002 in this Jewish-German project, where I met wonderful people from around the world healing their personal story around World War II. So there were Holocaust survivors, former SS officers, second generation, the children, and even third generation. So here I lead over to Brian, because I met Brian in that project. He was a co-facilitator of the Jewish American side. So Brian, maybe you share a little bit about you.
I have the good fortune of being married to Lisa now. We're together 19 years. But about me, I had a very similar trauma as a child because my father, who was in the Army, captain in the Army, he was showing all of the World War II videos, television programs. And when I was a small boy, I saw the liberation of the concentration camps. And I was deeply traumatized. I didn't want to be Jewish, which I was growing up in a Jewish household. And I didn't want to be a man that would have to shoot and kill people or be killed. So as a child, I was really seeking uh, men of peace. How could I find men of peace? And what I discovered, especially with Gandhi, when I read his story, he was very inspiring to me, but he was assassinated. And then as I entered my teenage years, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Um, President Kennedy was assassinated. So this violence was driving me into activism, and I wasn't finding any peace there. I fortunately found some teachings, meditation and yoga that really helped me discover peace within myself. And so presently, I call myself an artist for peace. I'm a fine art sculptor, and I make sculptures that are really communicating presence, stillness, serenity, and symbolize, especially like the symbol that I'm wearing around my neck, our unity. So very appropriate for today's theme of unity. And so presently, I'm the co-founder of Ojai International City of Peace, and I've been mentoring other people to have their cities become cities of peace. Gives me a great joy because cities don't create wars, nations create wars. And so my commitment is to help and educate individuals that peace begins within them, within each one of us. So that's my work, and I'm very passionate about it. So I'm really happy to be here with you today. And we have a little video to connect and welcome you.
Yeah, so I will make share screen, and this video will be about 2.5 minutes. At the end of our hour, we will share another video, very inspirational. I hope you will enjoy it. So give me a moment to set it up. Here it comes.
As we open this virtual space, let's connect and be present with each other. Let's get to know each other with kindness and gentleness. Let's listen to each other with generosity in our hearts. Let's learn from each other with curiosity and wonder. We are a part of nature. We are a part of Earth. We are a part of life. May we use our time together to add to peace and truth and goodness in the world.
So let us take a few moments right now for what happened 20 years ago today. The events that happened in New York City, in Washington, D.C., And it changed the world for all of us. Thank you for being here. Let us awaken peace in this challenging world.
Yeah, like Brian said, in these challenging times, maybe they were always challenging times, but we are here right now on the earth and in this moment, and I imagine we're sitting in a circle, though you're at your place and I'm here at my place. Imagine that we are in the cyberspace connected. We are one family, so when there's suffering going on in the world, this influences us all. So right now in the world we experience a lot of polarities, separation, isolation, confrontation. People are frustrated, have a lot of fear, they are alone, depressive, objectifying the other. So how to hold that all in life? And then we have our personal life. You might have health issues or issues in your relationship, in workplaces. So you might have lost a loved one. So individually and collectively, how to master all these occurrences and to be in peace. That was actually why Brian and I, we called it Awakening Peace in a Challenging World. So our common work is about awakening peace. So, and we, in a way, we follow something we experienced personally. Like, as an activist, I might be full of hate and anger. It doesn't mean that sometimes it's okay, but I contribute to hate and anger and all the war energy. Yeah. So, as a holistic healer, I am dealing with it on a daily basis, that people come to me and they might come because of physical challenges, but we all know nowadays, science tells us and proves that life proves it, that stress, continuous stress, strong emotions that can't be held and overcome or healed, they can manifest as illness and disease. And I see it. So my 40 years of experience, we have never had so many chronic diseases. This has clearly many different reasons, like I always point out. Look at your nutrition. Is it a healthy, natural nutrition? It's the toxic situation, but it's also how we respond to life. And even here we can say, yeah, it's my genetic inheritance. I have genes for this or that. But nowadays, even science says our genes are put on and off depending on how we respond to life. So you might have the disposition to diabetes or migraine or whatever it is. It doesn't mean that you necessarily will have this disease. So it goes back. The more we can handle daily stress in a good way, to balance it out, returning to peace, having a toolkit is the best foundation for your personal life, but you contribute in that way also to bigger peace. So just from my personal experience, there is always this question in life, who am I? Or like the Oracle of Delphi says, know yourself. So, who am I? So when I have stress, and sometimes my mind goes just crazy, there are thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, and how to calm that. So what I use, and I will just share some metaphors through daily life I use, and they might be beneficial for you. So I go often to the ocean or to a river and just observe the waves or the flow of the river. And I learned the wisdom of nature. So I can't stop the river flowing. I can't stop the waves in the ocean. So they are just flowing. They are not good. They are not bad. I am not against it. And I just know they flow. So in that way, I observe my own thoughts. I perceive them. I can see I'm not my thoughts. I'm the awareness. I'm aware thoughts are there or sense perceptions are there. And they come and go. No thought stays. But we have a culture, many people have that, we linger in them. And the mind retells the story and we sometimes re-traumatize ourselves. So to get out of this habitual behavior or response, there is use nature. Go to a river, just observe the river, the flow of the river, and you learn more and more the mindfulness around your own flow of the thoughts. So you strengthen your inner mindfulness that calms you. So when you are relaxed and you have a relaxed attitude towards your thoughts and feelings, everything is easier. On the other hand, if you identify with your thoughts, you create a problem. Sometimes they are even dogmatic. History, and we might learn from history that there is one group that says, if you don't believe in this book, you will be killed. Yeah, so we can see how extreme our belief in thoughts can become. So whenever you have restless thoughts, look for a moment in nature and just observe. They come and go. You are like the water that flows. Yeah, and handle them with more playfulness. So in that way, imagine we are 7.7 billion people in 195 countries, I think, with all the different thoughts and beliefs. And the challenge for us humans is, can we hold that with compassion, with loving kindness, and say, though we are all different, we are all a unique expression of life, we are also connected. So looking at the connectedness and not at the differences, because the differences create the war. Suddenly my neighbor who has a different belief is my enemy. And I speak again from all the stories I heard in my practice. People were telling me, if your neighbor was a communist during World War II, they would just call the Gestapo, the neighbor would be picked up and killed without any trial. So far it can go. So I'm deeply sensitive about, being aware of my thoughts and what do I create here? Does it contribute to peace in the world? So the inner peace is the foundation of world peace. Give it a thought, how much you can contribute to world peace. Like every single person can contribute to a field of compassion and healing. But you can also contribute to the field of hate and anger and separation. Yeah, we have more influence than we think, not just on our own state of inner peace, but also what we spread around us, wherever we go, wherever we are. So I mentioned nature. So another way might be just you look at beauty. Beauty gives you strength. You might see a flower. Be with the flower, not just give the flower a name, oh, it's a rose, it's a beautiful rose. Go deeper and see if you can touch what the flower is as a whole. You might observe the luminosity immanent in this living, sentient being. Yeah, you see the bigger wholeness of the plant, or you're with the puppy, whatever you're with. So go and let it, feel it, explore it. So in this way, if it's beauty, or another way is gratitude. Nowadays science knows how powerful gratitude is. To look, besides what might not work in your life, what are you grateful for? If you do that 5 minutes every morning, or sit half an hour in a park, watch just the flowers and butterflies, it will change your brain chemistry. The neurons connect, you connect deeper with who you are. And that gives you the peace. So just to summarize it, look besides what's happening in the world, also what is good. You enumerate everything that is good, and that links your brain, harmonizes your brain, and is your source of strength and inner peace. And then don't believe everything your mind is telling you. Just watch your thoughts and feelings. Become the watcher, like the river is flowing around a stone, not fighting with the stone, just flowing around. And maybe the last tip is for me also, especially in nowadays, as we are so connected in a digital way, practice a digital detox. Reduce your media consumption and choose your media carefully. Just how much you can hold. Be informed, but see it's an information you let into your body. Be mindful how much you can hold. Otherwise, it becomes a poison to your system. You need, the human being, we long for love, for peace, for connectedness. We want to be part of life and community. So when we go always in the separation and the fear and the threat, that is, at one point we can't hold it. Yeah, you might think now, oh, but I have to do something in the world. Okay, I understand that, and you will do something in the world. But as the first approach, reconnect with your inner peace. Explore who you are, and now that will be the greatest contribution you can do. So, Brian, I give it to you.
Thank you. It's such a joy to have you in my life, to keep me moving. So what I want to begin with is really that this practice of awakening peace begins within, and then it moves outward. And so what I just to share just a little bit, because these are really challenging times. The world is really challenged for many, many reasons why. I want to just share a couple little personal experiences that were really dramatic in my life. And one of them was that as a sculptor, I found myself teaching on a small island up in Washington State. And I had a studio that I built, and I had a home that I bought on someone else's land. And this person at one point had written me as a life tenant on the property. And then something happened in his mid-80s, and he decided to sell the land without me. And this was so deeply troubling me, because I loved this person. He was so kind to me. And then he turned against me. I couldn't hate him. I just really knew that I had to go, because he wanted to sell the land. It was no small task, but I moved on. And when I moved on, 9/11 happened. And now I was feeling this amazing divide amongst my friends. Some, especially my veteran friends, wanted to just go in and just bomb the hell out of Afghanistan. My friends that were of another camp wanted to build hospitals and schools and educate and care for, to have generosity, to turn the other cheek. And so there was a giant divide. And so one day I had this inspiration. What if I could teach people compassionate listening? This is a practice. It's not something that you learn once, because everybody that you listen to is coming from a different place. So 9/11 turned me into a compassionate listener. And 1 year later, I'm invited to co-facilitate the Jewish-German project. And in that project, I met this beloved Lisa Boyerman. And we fell in love, and a year later we married. And here she is, living with me now 19 years. So that tragedy, that horrific experience that I went through, it led me to a beloved partner in blessed life. So these are some of the challenging world situations for each of us. We never know when something that's really, really horrible is revealing a future that we didn't know was even possible. So with that said, um, I want to guide us inward now. This will be a meditation or a period of mindfulness, but I really want to give you a basic guided tour within to awaken peace. So with that said, we're going to take a few minutes now together. So please make sure that you're seated comfortably. You're welcome to close your eyes or have a soft gaze. Don't focus really on anything outside. We want your attention and awareness now on the inside of yourself. And we're going to start off with really just taking a couple deep breaths, and use your exhalation to release tensions. So we're going to start down at our feet, and we're going to come slowly up our legs into our waist. Continue to look for areas of tension and stress, and release them with your breath. Come up into your abdomen, also in your lower back, middle back, and in the front of you, in the inner, your heart center. Continue breathing, releasing. Coming up into your shoulders and arms. Excuse me. Feel your hands and your fingertips. And just tune into the energy within yourself. And now quickly we're coming up into the neck and face and scalp. And use this awareness that you have, your mind's eye. Just explore your body now. Notice if there are any areas that are still stressed. Spend another moment or two breathing into that and exhaling. And now bring your awareness into your heart center. Notice the state of your heart. Notice what you're carrying there in terms of your relationship with yourself. I invite you to give yourself loving kindness right now. Notice what that feels like in your body to receive loving kindness. Allow yourself to just feel that. And stay in awareness and notice if your mind is objecting, if you have many thoughts resisting this self-love, loving care for yourself. Give yourself compassion now. Compassion for a mind that doesn't allow you your own self-love and care. Allow that compassion into your heart and expand your heart. That compassion and love to every cell in your body. Just send it out with your blood flow, with your breathing. Let the oxygen be charged with loving kindness for the incredible job that each cell does in your body. And now expand that out, imagining all of us sitting together in a circle, and you're sharing that compassion energetically. Imagine us holding hands, and you're receiving compassion from the person on your left, and it's coming in through your left hand, through your body, and out your right hand. Just feel this loving energy, this compassionate energy. And our bodies are vehicles for sharing love, compassion, this loving kindness. And I'd like us just slowly now to come into presence in the room where you are, and knowing that this circle is a circle that embraces our entire global family. Imagine all of the souls that don't receive loving kindness and compassion. And each of us have the seeds within to grow that compassion and love. So I thank you. I thank you so much for joining in and spreading this kindness and hope in the face of life's challenge.
Thank you, Brian. Beautiful. So from this inner peace we now all feel and radiate out. So what is with peace and relationships? All the relationships we all have, and it's like from me to we. Brian and I, we especially in the beginning when we didn't know each other well, we had a practice that we call finding the pearl. It's like coming from a place of curiosity where there's righteousness or power structures, where there's more arguments. So we had just recently, this weekend moment, I give you just an example, we had a meeting, and during the meeting, Brian's cell phone is ringing. And out of reflect, and this happens very often, Brian grabs the phone because that is the most important thing. And so I got triggered. We all have triggers. So, but when we practice what we stand for. So we had a little stop or freeze, or you might use a word, maybe a funny word like butterfly, where the other knows freeze a moment. So, and what we do then is to listen with compassion to each other. So, in a way, I needed to be heard. It was not a big issue, but I felt disconnected, not honored. We were in the middle of the meeting. Maybe just a friend was saying, "Hi, Brian, how are you doing?" But whatever, I didn't know. So, and when I shared that, I was fine. And then I returned it to Brian and said, "Brian, what was it like for you?" And maybe you share how it was for you.
Well, I noticed that my initial response was shame on me, which told me a lot about myself, and that how, I'll admit here, Lisa and I'm in my third marriage, right? But we're together 19 years. So in the beginning, we needed to learn skills to have peace in our relationship. So the first thing after I experienced that, I also recognized, don't take this personal. Get curious. Find out what upset Lisa without me having to defend what I did. And as soon as I was able to go into that space, it was very soon over. I turned the phone off. I said, "Let's get back to the meeting. I'm sorry." And on we went to the next thing. So this is a little example, but we can apply that to any number of situations. And we don't need to spend the time right now. I'm sure that many of you have your own examples, relationships with a partner, with one of your children, with a boss or a coworker, or heaven forbid, we're confronted by somebody who has extremely opposing views as you. And this requires really a practice, a deep practice. It's not something that you can just say, "Oh yeah, I did that with my friend and it was great, but now what do I do with this?" So one of the things that we really emphasize is that we listen for the underlying values that a person is expressing. Because even if I'm listening to somebody who is in complete opposition and I hear what they value, and I can reflect that back to them. In some ways, they feel heard and it's disarming to them. They feel like, oh, this person hears me. He understands where I'm coming from. From there, we can work towards possibly a mutual understanding of our differences.
I think that's an important part you are saying, that sometimes opposing views have the same values, but the strategy towards those fulfilling of values is different. And sometimes they can be really harmful. And a person acts out unconsciously, not knowing what is my value, solidarity, justice, or whatever. So when we can, first, I think everyone wants to be acknowledged of who they are and is longing for the feeling, I'm okay. Yeah, so in this listening to each other, because as I mentioned before, we are all different. Is it the gender, religion, racial differences, cultural differences, and. So to create a culture that is inclusive, is curious to understand what is the view of somebody else and what is the value behind it. So that is very, very healing. We started with this personal inner peace, and here we go now towards peace in relationships. So in your home life, with your kids, little things that might always show up to create this culture of inclusiveness and deep, heart-based listening. So when we have on a regular basis compassionate listening circles, or we call it awakening peace circles, and there's some tips that I think they are universal as tips. So first is you speak in I statements. So no finger pointing, you did such and such. Speak what it felt within you, how you feel, or what triggered, how it triggered. Just speak in I statements. Then what you hear from the other person is a very important part. Never take it personal. It's a story of the other, and the other has it's history why they react that way. So no, don't take it personal. Just listen with an open heart and speak from your heart. And then watch your judgments. We all know it when somebody shares something, our inner critical voice is working. And become aware. It's again, like I said, watch the water running, watch your thoughts. Watch when your mind starts, oh, this idiot, why did he do it again? Or whatever this judgment is about. And let the mind go in the background, come back to presence. So presence is a good bridge, that you always say, okay, I'm coming back to the here and now, breathe with an open heart and listen. You might implement those little tips in your daily life and observe how the other might respond suddenly different, because we feed the field. When one person goes out of the dynamic and suddenly is not upset, not triggered, with an open, curious heart, just say, wow, it's interesting what you just said, or I see you're triggered, share more. So then we help the other to release whatever is there. And no arguing, it's not a debate, I know it better. Just, I hear you. We have very often, though we did it so many times during the 19 years, when the other says, I hear you. Oh, it feels so good. Somebody really listened to me. Yeah, because this is also a cultural thing. Who really listens nowadays to each other? We're always busy beside the, iPhone and other things. We are so busy. We are not in this peaceful presence with each other. Okay, so this was a little bit, I think, might be an inspiration for you to just little steps. It doesn't need so many big classes or courses or whatever. Very simple. Yeah, so now you might even think for a moment, how do you deal with your triggers. With how do you deal with the polarized world, challenging moments? When your kids are always playing computer games, or you see some injustice on the street, what tools do you use? I think just reflecting on it. What is my toolkit? What are my tools I can call on when I am triggered? So, and Brian, maybe I point out, you wrote this beautiful booklet, Break Free from Your Monkey Mind. 5 steps, only 5 steps. Oh my God. And
Yeah, so I wrote this booklet during the pandemic, and I make it available to all of you. At the end of our closing video, it has my address, brian@awakeningpeace.org. Send me an email, send me the ebook, and you'll get one. So, Lisa, I think this is probably a time for some question and answers.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's look and
So we'll see if there's any question and answers, and our tech genius will let us know if there's any at all.
There aren't any right now, but if people would like to, they can put it either in the chat or use the Q&A function, which is right next to the participants at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we thought we give it some space in our sharing, because it's not a live Zoom, it's a webinar. But if you have questions and something you want to share, please do so. So
or comments. I don't know.
Comments.
Maybe there aren't any questions, but maybe you would like to know more, and we will be having other opportunities. We're going to be on Peace Day. We're going to actually announce our Awakening Peace Award recipient, and we're going to have a feast for peace during the noon hour Pacific time, and I make a note of that. And then we'll have 9 Awaken Peace circles on Zoom starting October 4th, every Monday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So you'll be able to see that on the closing card.
So you get probably a little touch that our approach is this awakening peace from our peace within, and then it's like peace in relationships. And the third step would be compassionate action. So wherever you are, you might be an activist, or you might be in the politics, or wherever you are in your life, I think that will be a wonderful contribution to come from your peaceful self to do whatever you need to do. Is it for Brian as an artist, for me as a naturopath or holistic counselor, or if you work in the computer industry? We are social beings. We are with people all the time. And I think we live in a time now, where it's like, let it be a grassroots movement. Just say, hey, we are all part of it. And Brian's Hollows design he just showed and this Unity Week, that's so beautiful. We are part of Unity Week to contribute to this. We know it's somehow we are all connected. We are all living here on this planet. But do we really?
Is the design. Somebody asked what the design that my name on my window was covering up the pendant. So, but I just wrote it to this person who asked. The design is called holosamulets.com, and it's a symbol of unity, peace, and love. And it really embraces all of our diversities. and diversities are man-made, but we're all connected. We're one humanity. So this is really, the design is what led me to promote cities of peace. So
that's another outlet Brian and I are doing in our Contributional Bride, especially. Like you said, he mentors other cities around the world how to create their city as a city of peace. And that is very unique. Like in Africa, a city might have most concerns about clean water. You know, every area has their own agenda, so it's up to the people. It's a people's movement wherever they feel we need something to change here, and then they apply and say, this is what we are doing in our city, please accept us as an international city of peace. So
now, Lisa, there's another question here.
Okay.
Do you need to complete that, or can I go
I'm
on?
good.
So this is from Jude. Thank you so much, Lisa and Brian. On one hand, it is essential to practice listening. On the other hand, we need to express our different feelings or point of view, how to coordinate the two in practical situations.
Very
Okay.
important part. Yeah. So it's not just listening, it's also speaking from the heart. You know, when Brian and I, we met in this Jewish-German reconciliation project, you can imagine how deep it went when a Holocaust survivor was sharing what happened to him, or a former Nazi SS officer was sharing what it was like for him. So it was healing for both of them, sharing what they were holding. So it's both ways. So sorry if that was not mentioned deeply enough. It's listening, yes, and it's also speaking. It's very important. Yeah, Brian, you want to?
Well, I also just want to identify that we listen to women survivors also, and women that were involved. So, yeah, just that it wasn't just the men who,
No.
who we listened to. So this technology, I'm really not quite sure. Okay, thank you. Our host, tech person, says there's no open question, so thank you. Anything else before we wrap it up? Let's see, from Ja to everyone. So we have a thank you to everyone who is here. Please, if you can, we just have one more closing video with music, beautiful words. Lisa, do you want to launch
so
that
if we are
now?
ready, I will launch the beautiful video. And let's go from there.
With a moment of silence. Listening in to each other. Being present with each other. Feeling the unity in amongst our beautiful diversity. And let's face forward as we move on to our next engagement. Taking with us the essence of this experience so that it may live on as we continue moving through life, creating new experiences and building on what we've done together today.
I really want to thank Gary, Sarah, and Louis for such a beautiful, beautiful video, music, words. So yes, and there are additional events today in this 11 days of world unity. So please, if you have the time, these next 11 days are full of inspirational people touching upon these issues, because in our heart of hearts we all want peace, and how to awaken that peace in this challenging world. So thank you for being here. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the time, you got some inspirations, and just from my heart to your heart, all the best, and many peaceful moments. So, okay, thank you for being with us.